Before we begin the next Masechta, where Rabbi Oppenheimer, I'm going to share just on the part the official said about Psal L'cha, the Rabbi Menashe's question in the Rishima, why is it L'cha? It should have been, based on the Siyum Masechta, that Masat the Avanim, it should have been B'meila his. So there's a Chassidish Meiser, there's a Meiser of the Heilige Ruzhiner. He once came in and to the Beis Medrash, and he found Chassidim sitting around for bringing and they saw on his face that he was displeased, that they're spending time at submitting tugs, for bringing. So they responded and said that a Pinchas Karitzer, he said that Chassidim that sell Maises has an Indian, it's considered on the level of Limud Torah. So the Heilige Ruzhiner responded the Moed Gevart on this Psal L'cha. And he said, you have two times where the same word can be, you have a word that can be to the greatest heights and the greatest lows. You have Psal L'cha, which is the Eibishter telling Moshe Rabbeinu to carve out the new Luchas Shnias, with all the Mailas of Bezah. And then you have that when Leisas L'cha Pesel. Psal means to carve out, and Pesel is Zavei Dezarach Motzlan. Right? What's the difference? It's the same word. How could it mean pesel? It's a graven image, and it means on the same hand. It means salacha, the luchas shnias. So he says it depends where the lecha is. When it says loisasa lecha pesel, first you're thinking about yourself, and then you shtel sachavek to carve. So that's far from it. That could be when you're the metzias. Then the Farbrengen hat nicht mit Torah. Started off with yourself, your Metzias is there. Masha'enken, when it's Psal L'cha, first is the Psal, you're doing the Eibishter's Tzivui, the Eibishter told Moshe Rabbeinu to carve out. So then L'cha could even be Ashirus. Then the Farbrengen, this is what he was indicating, that then the Farbrengen is like Limud Torah. So I wanna say the hemshach to what Rabbi Aster was saying, and I think it's important to share over here, because us sitting around over here, and it's mamash a personal mazel tov to each and every one of the mishtatfim, mamash a guy, everybody here. I don't know everybody, but it's a mazel Rabbi Gig, and I know Allah Chassid, Rabbi Hirsch, Rabbi. That what is putting the Eibishter before us? What does it mean not to put the L'cha before the Psal? What that means is when a person has bittul, like Rabbi Aster started saying, the shivrei luchas, the limud Torah Sheba'al Peh takes a certain shvira, putting yourself on the side. It takes effort to sit down and to learn. It takes koyach. Everybody could be doing other things, and there's other things that are easier in life. And to put it on the side, that puts the psal before the l'cha. And you should know that there comes from shivrei luchas. Not from Shivri, from the residue of the Avanim. Moshe Rabbeinu became rich, Sasha Moshe, but it has to have where's the real lecha? When could a yid really benefit when you have that level of bittul, that Shivri luchas, and it takes I think the more than the celebration of finishing a Masechta is the celebration of that amount of Kuf Yud Tes days, where you put yourself on the side and you carve your mamish psal, carve out time for limud Torah. And all of us, none of us have smooth sailing. The Eibishter makes sure that it says the Eibishter said to. I'm sorry that I'm going by Riches. Usually it's not the job of the MC to say a drash. It's just to introduce. But it's like it's a mir, it's a aleph and non da. It touches a string. This is very very when you didn't finish Kuf Yutes Daf. It's many months of putting ourselves on the side and carving out time. When the Eibishter told Adam Rishon that B'zeis Apecha Teichel Lechem and Koitz V'Dardar Tatzmiach Lach, so if we don't deal with earth, it doesn't mean we don't have Koitz V'Dardar. Every Yid Baruch Hashem has a run for his money, has to work, and there's Yegiya involved, and to cut out time and headspace to learn Adaf Gemara as Ois Arbet and Ois Harvin, and even to listen in a shir, to be available, Pasha, is a real psal, is a real cutting out, and it's not it's shivrei luchas. It takes bittul that comes before, even if there's the geshmak of Torah Shebal Peh, it comes, that carving out makes that the lecha, the nesasher Moshe, that after you have this level of bittul, that the ashirus that comes with it is take getlichkeit. It's the real ashirus. When a yid learns with that bittul, when a yid learns and harvit, right? Terasi shalamazdi becharfi is amdaldi. That is the real ashirus, and adkan on the psalacha. We're going to be mechabed Rabbi Oppenheimer to start the next Masechta of Metzia Maskif and Siyum Laschala.
I put all the Bava Metzias in the other room. You mind, in the other room, in the shelf over there, you have the Bava Metzia there.
Sorry if I was meirich.
Shem Sayim Gevem, you're finishing tomorrow?
Tomorrow, that's Shem, yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
I want to say Sheklah to Rabbi Laster for the beautiful work that he does, because for me it was very hard this Gemara, but I can imagine how harder it was even for him to prepare it so we can understand it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shekayach and a mazel tov to Rabbi Aster, and to all the mishtatfim, and Yeshekayach for the kind words to Rabbi Yezevit. So Masechta Bava Metzia begins. Shnaim urchsim betalis. Two people are holding on to a talis. Ze'im rani mitzasiya v'ze'im rani mitzasiya. Each one says, this one says, I found it, and the other one says, I found it. Ze'im akula shali v'ze'im akula shali. The one says it's all mine, and the other one says it's all mine, which the Gemara points out. It seems repetitive, and the Gemara explains that we're actually talking about two different cases, one mitzia and one where each one's claiming that he bought it. Anyway, the Mishnah says, the one should swear that he owns not less than half of it. The other one should swear that he owns not less than half of it. And then they divide it up, which the Gemara ends up explaining that doesn't mean divide it up as in you rip the talus in half. It means they're joint partners in it. Whatever they decide they want to do with it, at that point they could decide they'll wear it on alternate days. They can decide that they'll sell it and split the money. In Bava Basra it talks about the concept of gudei or good, where one of them can say you buy out my portion or I'll buy out yours. But whatever, that's what it means. Tosfos, by the way, points out that why of all things does the Masechta begin with this case? And he says because here Rabbi Aster just taught us about the part about the various things with the kashel and the matzah, the various things where the carpenter or the tailor or whatever splits with the balabas, things like the sawdust or the leftover thread or whatnot. So here we have a similar thing where two people have something that they need to divide between them, namely the talus. So well known. There's a Rishima that the Rebbe wrote up in Tafshin Beis that he gave over to the yeshiva to Temchat Mimim at the beginning of the Zman. It's an entire kuntres, and there's no way that I can do it justice in a few minutes over here. But I haven't even learned through the whole thing yet. But at least to hit a couple of the high points in it. So the Rebbe makes the point over there, the talus then represents mitzvahs, and specifically a certain aspect of mitzvahs, namely the part that mitzvahs, as we know from Tanya, are a lavush for a person, unlike Torah, which is mozen for the neshama. You have the aspect of it which is beinon l'mokum, the aspect of it which doesn't penetrate into his pnimius, but only stays, but stays and is makif him. So now you have there can be a case where two people are arguing on who was the one who made that come about, who's the one who accomplished that the existence and the finding of that talus. So you have the one who actually did the mitzvah says ani mitzasiha, I found it, and the entire mila of the talus that's brought about by it belongs to me. And the other one, his rebbe, his mashpia, his whatever it is, who influenced him to do that, is also claiming ani mitzasiha. And the Rebbe makes the point over there, we're talking about over here, when they're saying, where each one is saying Kula Shali, so the one who's saying Kula, the first one, the one who actually did the mitzvah and is saying Kula Shali, is a tzaddik. Maybe not a tzaddik of Tanya, but upon him a tzaddik at least in this particular area. Every person has, we have these days in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe talks about a point that every person has their own individual nisyonis, and every person has their individual areas where he's stronger and weaker. So you have a person in this particular area, he's stronger, and therefore he's arguing, I didn't need you, my mashpia, to get me to do this mitzvah. I would have done it on my own. Meanwhile, the mashpia says, fine, you have a certain natural tendency to this, but after all, you needed somebody to direct you to do it. Otherwise, you might have slacked off or whatever. So therefore, kol shali. So the vort is then that we have each one of them take a shvua, representing, in other words, that we want to be ma'ura, the yiras shemayim by them, and that way the result is that then that way yachloiku, that way each of them is taka entitled to half of it. And then in the hemshech, the Rebbe goes on to talk about, you have the Mishnah continues with the case where one says kula shali and the other one's chetzia shali. That refers more to a beinani. So he's saying, I agree, I wouldn't have done it all on my own. But after all, I'm for it only a beinani in this particular thing, but at least I should be entitled to half of it. And the other one is saying that I'm the one who made it happen b'chlal. So then we say that it gets split up 3/4 and 1/4. And the Rebbe goes on to talk about over there. There's the Tosefta that talks about this case. Also brings a case where one of them claims that I own only a third of the talus, which the Mishnah doesn't mention that case. And the point is that represents the person who's a Rosha in this particular area. So the Mishnah doesn't have to deal with that level of person, but by the time you get to the Tosefta, which is already from the next generation, then already there's a Yeridus Hadoros, and you have to talk about that kind of person as well. And therefore he's claiming only shlish, because you have over there his guf, his nefesh elikis, and the nefesh bahamis, and he's saying only my nefesh elikis was involved in doing this, and the other one meanwhile is saying I'm the one who schlepped in your guf and your nefesh bahamis to be involved as well, and therefore you have the dinim that apply over there as well. So the point is, though, that the point is the Rebbe also makes the point there, by the way, that for that reason, because this kind of thing that you have taka, that one person is ma'or somebody else to do a mitzvah and therefore has a claim on it, kula shali. For that reason, the Mishnah starts off Shnayim Urchzin Betalis. Now you would expect a lot of times, for example, the next part of the Mishnah is Hoyu Shnayim Ruchvin Al Gabe Behema. So the normal way would be something like Shnayim Shahoyu Urchzin Betalis, or something like that. When the Rambam brings the halacha, Taka, he brings it Shnayim Shahoyu Betalis, or something like that, implying it happens occasionally. You have Shnayim Shahoyu Urchzin Betalis, whatever. Shnayim Shahoyu. Yeah, they have a lot of expressions like that where you usually have, the expression is, if you happen that two people are sitting and doing such and such and whatever, then here's the din. Here it's like Shnaim Urchzin Betalis, almost as though it's like a normal expected thing. There are going to be two people holding on to a talis, because that's such a common thing that you have taka, that a person is nisorder to do a mitzvah, and there's an argument on a ruchniistic level, who is it that actually owns the schar of that mitzvah, and who's the one who has the talus and the zikuch of that mitzvah. And for that reason, taka, it says in the terms of Shnaim Urchzin Betalis. So the ikar of it is then, so when we have a Magid Shir like Rabbi Oster, who's taking ma'ora people to come to a shir. I wish I could say it about myself, but unfortunately my shir has severely fallen off in people who attend, so it's hard for me to say that I have a claim of kula shali, but Akaponim you have, and that's the important thing. But the point is that so yes, you have every day when there's a shir and people are in, and Rabbi Oster is teaching, and other Magidi shir here in Crown Heights, Vani Akot and Besoichem are sitting and teaching, and somebody at least, or more than one somebody comes, then you have on a daily basis a Shnaim Urchzin Betalis Zerim Akula Shali V'Zerim Akula Shali, and the result is that we're mashbia, both of them mashbia, also Malosh and Masbia, that the Eibishter fills them up with everything they need, Begashmius, Baruchnius, Gam Yochad, and each of them gets their schar al derech, also, as we know, Shnaim Shasua, where where you have, if two people are doing the same way as two people are doing malacha together and neither one could do it by themselves, then in Hilchos Shabbos, both of them are chayev in the same way, since a Magid Shir can't teach without Talmidim, and since the Talmidim can't or may not learn, at least certainly not on the same level, without a Magid Shir, then both of them are equally sharing both of them are equally the achloiku in the schar and the schus of it. And the Eibishter should help that everybody continues to do that and continues to be yachloku and continues to be mushba and musba with everything that they get from it. Begashmius of ruchnius gam yachad.
Shkoyach Gadol of Oppenheimer. Another very special occasion there is today, and it's also connected to the Siyum and the Masechta, which is the Siyum of Sefer Kedusha in Rambam today in Perek Echad Yom, and it's fascinatingly connected also to the Siyum of Masechta Bava Kama, which discusses sawdust, that it doesn't have value, and in Mamish the last halacha in Hilchos Shchita Perek Yudalid is Kisui Adam, and I want to connect another. Besides, I'll read the last halacha and I'll begin. But in addition to having that connection, many of us learned in Masechta Shabbos the sugya of Mai Chanukah, and it discusses over there the fact that also the hartzis mois keneged haner. You're not allowed to count money in front of the ner Chanukah, and it says no, you're not allowed to because shlo yemitzes bzuyas aleinu, and then it brings from if you're allowed to be mistapik from noyes sukkah, things that were to decorate the sukkah. And the Gemara makes a big shturim, Talitani B'Leitanya, that avuin de kol adam, everything we learn, the fact that shlo yemitzes bzuyas aleinu, not to underestimate any mitzvah, we all learn from this mitzvah of kisui adam, all from this sawdust. Leitman, it says v'shafach v'chisa v'masha shafach yichasa, just like you have to shech with your hand, you have to mechasa when you cover the blood kisui adam of chaya and oif. After it's shechted, you have to cover it many times. Today, practically, it's done with sawdust most of the time. If you go to kaparas, you have to do it by hand. You can't. You're not allowed to do it with your foot, and that's one of the places we learn this halacha. We learn that mitzvahs have to be done with tremendous simcha. So, speaking of carving out time, it has to be celebrated b'reish galei. Like Rav Avram Rotban organized over here, Irgun Teda, and it's a fleshik, and it's a su'uda, and a zeydar zayin. It's you're not allowed to look at it like the residue of luchas nisasha Moshe from this bittel, from this carving out, veret lecha, the real ashirus, veret nisasha Moshe Rabbeinu veret reich, from when you didn't carve out time. And this is avoin de kulu. This is avoin of all the Greser Masechtas and Greser Inyanim we all learn. So let me just finish the last halacha. Ukshemechasa, when a person is doing kisei adam, all the halachas before discuss exactly how it's done and how much blood and which blood, etc. And so he concludes, Ukshemechasa lo yichasa beragla. He shouldn't do it with his foot. Ella biyade, rather with his hand afka, or bisakin, or with the knife, which is an extension of his hand, the bekli, kadesh lo yinig minig bizoyin b'mitzvahs v'lo v'yiyum bzuyas olav. Because if you act in a bizoyin way to a mitzvah, even if you hold it in high regard, but if you act that way, it's going to cause the shlila, and therefore he says this is the way. If you do it, it's going to make sure you mechabed mitzvahs. She'eina kaved la'atzman shel mitzvahs. You should know that we're not mechabed the mitzvahs. It's not for the mitzvahs themselves. El misha tzibo ben baruch hu. We're giving kavod, we're honoring the one that commanded us. You know, the Rambam's Fabringans at the end of his Svanim, that the Eivishter saved us from those was tapping in finsternish, they're tapping around in darkness. Baruch Oisam, which means he prepared for them. Ner liyasher hamaisim, a light to guide the way, to, so to speak, straighten out our pathways. The oir lahoidus nesivus hayesha, and light to shine the pathways of truth and being upright. V'cheinu oimer ner l'ragli d'varecha v'oilin sivasi brich rachman l'sayin nigmat sefer chamishim v'sefer kedusha minyan prakav shleisha v'chamishim yisur bia shnayim basim prakim hilchas machaz asur shivasa prakim hilchas shchitar basar prakim. And I guess I'll start Sefer Aflah. While I'm saying this, I'll if I could add another nekuda to one thing Rabbi Aster said. Rabbi Aster mentioned the Mishnah at the end of Bava Basra that Haroitzel Hachim should learn the Imaminis. The Gemara in Bava Kama in Hakoinis in Aminiach says that Avos, he brings it Chasidim Rishonim, they would dig the Chlal in Haminiach at the beginning. It describes that they used to hide the thorns. So once upon a time, one of the security methods, they would hide thorns in the cracks of the wall. So if anyone tries to climb your wall, gets verstochen in his hands, and mitzamtzim mafriach the whole sugya there. But actually, it says Chasidim Rishonim. Not only they dug it in the ground, they didn't use it in their walls. Not only they didn't use it in the walls, not to be mazik. It's a garden, who they're going to be mazik. If it falls out, it's tachtanachai. But they would dig it in the ground, and they would dig it in a way that even if the machresha goes by, it won't pull it up. And the Gemara concludes, describing these Chasidim Rishonim, that a person that wants to be a chassid should learn the Zikin. And not only that, the first Masechta in Seder Nezikin is Avos. And the reason is because one of the tchunas of a Yid that learns Torah, Torah Yerushalayim, is trachten wegen a zweiter. So think about another person. Make sure you don't chap a geltos belikenis to there, and not to be mazik someone ad ktsei achra, to dig it in the earth. Gemara continues over there and brings other dugmois. And the last dogma the Gemara brings, last third man the Amar, is to learn brachas, to be mishabech the Eibishter. First, arbet av zich, make sure the chapas nicht a zweite. And then that is a chassid. That is be'etzem a chassid. Then it's negeat hayid halacha in Rambam, halacha in Gemara. One of the I think Reb Zalman Nechemia Goldberg once told us this. He said, "Eine von the tchunos was had gefunden by divas canon lernen is that they're very neigerik. Want to know? They're curious about every halacha. They're curious to know. Yeah? It's a tchuna, and if it's negea, person wants to know. He wants to stay away from chapping at seiter. So every scenario is negea. Every chitimta is negea. So, anyways, the Rambam verbringt. Okay, start Sefer Hafla. Start Endikin. Hafla is Meloshen Lahafli Lahazer, raise oneself up through a shvuah, and he says, Arba min a shvuah saying, Hilchas Shvuas yesh b'cholon chamish mitzvahs, 5 mitzvahs involved. Ach mitzvahs, 1 positive, arba mitzvahs, 4 negative. As El Prat, the details are Shloi l'shav b'shmoi l'shaka, not to swear falsely with the Eibishter's name. Shloi lisa shmoi l'shav, not to utter the Eibishter's name in vain. Shloi likfer b'pikadon, not to deny having an object that doesn't belong to you. You were for safekeeping, etc. Shloi l'shav al kfiras mamon, and not to swear falsely, denying money that you're supposed to pay and the like. Lishava b'shmoi b'amis, to swear in the Eibishter's name is a positive mitzvah, to swear the Eibishter's name when saying the truth. Ubir mitzvah b'rak mel perik rishon arba minei shvuos, and there are 4 types of shvuos: shvuos bitui, shvuos expression, shvuos shav, shvuos apikadin, and shvuos ha'edus. They're told to swear on testimony that they testified. Shvuos bitui shenamar b'teira oy nefesh kisishav levata b'sosayim lahara lehetiv. What he says he's going to do. Good or not good. V'hi nechlekes la'arba chalakim, shtayim lahaba, 2 forms in the future, shtayim l'shavar, and 2 when he swears about something that happened in the past. Kigoyin shenishbal davar sha'avar shenasa, something in the past that happened, l'shaloi nasa, or it didn't happen. Well, davar sha'asli sheyasa shaloi yasa, and that is the beginning of Hilchas Shavuos. Mazel tov, mazel tov to each and every one of us. Mazel tov to my Yishurim, to Rabbi Aster and Rabbi Oppenheimer, and to all the Mishtatzim, each and every Rabbi Nash, Rabbi Goldberger. Mazel tov, Yishakoyach Rabbi Abram, for pulling this together, and on a personal note, for inviting me to have a part of the Simcha.
And also a big yashakayach to Rav Kalman. Rav Kalman Rothman, tired Yid, sitting right over here.
Okay.
He was the Ruach HaChaim behind the scene.
Yishakoyach, Yishakoyach.
If not for him, there wouldn't have been a Siyum tonight. He insisted that there must be a Siyum. Must be a Siyum.
Yishakoyach, Yadla, say that thing.
It says Samach Mem, Aleph Lamed. Is Rosh Tevis, Siyum Mesachta Ein Lasses.
It's the clip, is it?
Right.
Right.
Lahore, by the way, today is also the end of a Siyum of a Sefer and Shlosha Praktim as well.
Nachlas?
Mishpatim, very good. Okay, if you want to machen, Adam. Shekoyach Gadol.